Governor Perry is one of the longest serving governors in the history of our country, but more importantly, he has been one of the most productive governors in the history of our country. Think about the fact that he has had the opportunity to cut over $17 billion of spending in the state of Texas. Texas is the 12th largest economy in the world, and over an 8 or 9 year period of time, he grew that economy by more than 1.5 million jobs. Wouldn't it be nice to have a CEO of this country who understands how to grow the economy in the private sector?
Amen.
That would be amazing. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen. So without further ado, please help me welcome my good friend, presidential candidate, Governor of Texas, Rick Perry.
Give me a hand up. Thank you, brother. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Closing in on $19 trillion, Governor Perry, what would you do about it? How quickly could you address it? And what mechanisms would you use to do so?
Relatively quickly, you can address it. There are a number of things that need to occur. One is you got to get the economy. Anybody that tells you we can deal with this immoral debt without cutting and without growing are just not going to, they're just not telling you the truth, or they don't know, they've never had that experience before. It is an immoral debt that's been created, and you have to cut the spending. You must reform the entitlement programs in this country, because those debts, whether it's Social Security or whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, and there are a number of ways of which those get addressed. But I want to share with you how you get this economy back on track, because I think that is at the real core of what we must do, is get the economy growing. Because if you don't get the economy growing, we're dead in the water. I'm not even going to get into monetary policy and what they've done to us for the last 6 years with QE2 and printing of money, but growing this economy can occur. We live in a region in North America, Canada, the United States, and Mexico, that have more known energy reserves than Saudi Arabia and Russia. Develop those energy resources. Open the XL pipeline. We have extraordinary energy resources in this country, and I'm an all of the above. If it is North American-based energy, let's use it. I would substantially rather count on Canada for our energy supplies than Venezuela or some Ayatollah halfway around the world.
First part of our question is, how do we keep our borders safe? The second part of the question has to do with the Guantanamo Bay, the enemy combatants being detained there. The president has just announced that he is looking for domestic sites. How do we stop that from happening?
Yep. Having the experience of having dealt with the border for 14 years as the governor that chaired, that border is 1,933 miles long. Now, just to give you a little bit of taste, it's like from Key West, Florida to somewhere up in Maine. So when somebody says, we're going to build a wall, I'm kind of like, have you been to the border? I mean, have you really been there? I have. Last summer, when it became abundantly clear that the President of the United States was not going to deal with the situation and the massive amount of people that were coming across our border, actually being driven by transnational gangs and drug cartels, we subsequently found out, Trey. That was really who was behind that massive amount of people coming up out of Central America. And I told the President, I said, Mr. President, if you don't secure the border, Texas will. Now, we have spent now over $1 billion of Texas taxpayer money in that attempt to fill the gap that the federal government has left. And we had success from last July through last November as we surged down there. 74% decrease in the number of apprehensions. So if there's anybody who's running for president that has more, well, there is nobody. I mean, there's nobody has more experience of dealing with this issue than I do, but this is not a state's responsibility. This is the federal government's responsibility. And this concept of shutting down Gitmo. We have the wreck in Iraq today because this president made a statement during a political campaign to move our soldiers out of there on a date certain, and everything is going to heck in a handbasket over there. You got ISIS that has been created over there because this president does not understand how to connect the dots.
His question is, how do you simplify the tax code?
Yeah. But the simplicity of lowering the rates, simplifying it, you know, I'll give you a concept sitting here on the stage. Go back and see what Ronald Reagan put in place in 1986. That's the concept, the simplicity of that, lowering and simplifying. That's where we need to go. Again, this gets right to the heart of this whole corruption issue in Washington, D.C. You got these fat cats on K Street that too many people in Washington, D.C. are listening to instead of listening to people on Main Street. And until we strangle K Street and start reviving Main Street, this country's going to be in trouble. I want to go to Washington, D.C. and kick K Street out of town and make Washington as inconsequential as it can be. Thank you, brother.